Welcome to This Week in Mexico. Now, before I get started, I'd just like to say if stories of violence really affect you, I would suggest not watching this series. The things that Mexicans go through on a daily basis because of their horribly corrupt government are truly terrible. For the rest of you, let's get started. Welcome to This Week in Mexico, where I go through Borderlands beats, latest updates, and read the latest news from Mexico. Mexico has been facing a truly horrific situation for at least the last 30 years, probably longer. Okay, it's been an ongoing war between the cartels and the people, okay, because the government basically works hand in hand with the cartels, and that's the biggest scandal of all. That's something that's never really talked about. But check this out. 4 PGR agents executed and burned. At least 4 agents of the PGR were burned inside a pickup truck that was abandoned by an armed commando in the urban zone of Gijanjanto. Welcome to This Week in Mexico, where I go through the latest news in Mexico and the latest crazy, horrific aspects that... Welcome to This Week in Mexico. Today, 4 PGR agents were executed and burned. At least 4 agents of the PGR were burned inside a truck that was abandoned by an armed commando in an urban zone. The armed commando left a message in which they accused the elements of the police of having links to drug trafficking organizations. According to official reports, around 1800, there's a report that an armed commando abandoned and set fire to a pickup truck in Colonia La Correa. Welcome to This Week in Mexico. It's Friday, December 9th, 2016. Today, at least 4 agents of the PGR were found burned inside of a pickup truck that was abandoned by an armed commando of drug traffickers in an urban zone. Look at this truly horrific scene. Wow, this is crazy. This is the kind of crap that Mexicans have to put up with every day. I can never understand why so many Mexicans that come to this country want to make California or Texas or Arizona Mexico. I mean, look at what a terrible place it is to live. The police are part of the drug cartels. The cartels are killing the police are killing the cartels, they're killing the people, both of them. Okay, you can't own a gun really in Mexico. And look at the madness that you're surrounded by, okay? And people want to bring governments like this here. Sinaloa cartel leader arrested in Paraguay with 300 kilos of coke. The National Anti-Drug Agency of Paraguay detained 4 Mexicans and 2 Paraguayans this Wednesday in a metropolitan area of the capital of Asuncion. The individuals presumably belong to the Sinaloa cartel. Law enforcement personnel also confiscated 300 kilograms of cocaine of high purity that they were going to send to Europe and were hidden in the closet. Wow. A spokesman informed the news agency from Spain that the drug with a value of $30 million was hidden in a house in Villa Elisa, where 2 Mexicans and 1 Paraguayan, while the other 2 persons of Mexican nationality were detained previously. Okay, it looks like Netflix is coming out with another Narcos series. This is just disgusting to me that people like this are glorified. I mean, this guy right here, Pablo Escobar, I mean, the amount of people that he killed in the worst manners possible for money, and he's glorified in these episodes. The sadness and the death that he brought upon his own people, and people look at him as some kind of like kingpin, some kind of prophet of money. He's a dealer of death, and if we glorify people like this and watch episodes like this, we're supporting it. We're supporting the death. There's a great documentary on Netflix called Narco Cultura, and even the police are dancing to narco music. You know, music about death, dealing drugs, killing people, you know, sleeping with a gajillion women, like just living this crazy life. It says season 2 aired its 10 episodes beginning in September. If you haven't watched season 2, check out Narcos Binge Watching Guide. No thanks, okay? Obviously, in order for the series to continue, the series must track real life events and changes in the Mexico world. And okay, so eventually it's starting in South America, it's moving up to Mexico. The producers report that the focus on Mexico will include highlighting El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel, but also the CJNG, a fast-growing, powerful cartel that once worked for Chapo as enforcers, but now are at war to succeed Chapo as the world's most powerful drug cartel. This is an ongoing problem that these drug lords have, is they create these cells of killers, and then once the killers get powerful enough, they branch off, and then they start their own cell. This is the same thing that happened with the Zetas, okay? And all these people are satanic. The death cults that they participate in. I mean, there's this book. Look at this book, Blood Sacrifices. If you guys are interested in real life satanic worship through blood sacrifice, human ritual, check this book out. It will blow your mind. If you think something like that doesn't really exist, let me tell you, it happens all the time. It's happening all around you. They found a poor kid in the river in London who had been sex trafficked from Africa, probably by Hillary Clinton, and they had dismembered him and killed him in the worst way. They had given him drugs so that he was incapacitated, but was still conscious. And then they proceeded to murder him as a blood ritual. You wonder why they burned witches in the Middle Ages? Do some reading, okay? Do some reading. The state of Veracruz is one of the states of Mexico where residents have suffered through disappearances of their relatives. Since December 2010, the local government has recorded more than 650 cases. Wow. But in a state in which victims blame the authorities, yeah, the testimonies of the bereaved women agreed that the black figure of this terrible phenomenon associated with organized crime is very high. The presence of the Zetas, as I mentioned earlier, and the Knights Templar and the JNGC have led to the murder of hundreds of thousands of people whose bodies have been hidden in at least 144 illegal graves, as recorded by the Attorney General of Mexico between 2006 and 2013. And because of this, the magnitude of the crisis that the state lives through could be worse than what is known. Although the disappearances have been counted from years ago, it wasn't until 2016 when the first public search brigades were organized in the state, which soon found dozens of clandestine graves in several cities in Veracruz. Vice News interviewed the women who have been part of these committees to find out what their efforts have been to find their missing relatives. So maybe an actual piece of good content you might want to watch from Vice News. They've gone super left and super downhill since they got on board with HBO. But could be promising. Well, Vice won't let me play the video here without giving me a copyright strike, so you guys are just going to have to check that out yourself. I'll leave a link in the description so you can watch the video. Falcon Lake gun attack. 1 killed, 1 injured while fishing on the Texas-Mexico border. Wow, a fisherman from Texas was shot and killed Tuesday night on Falcon Lake, the international reservoir on the Rio Grande that 6 years ago was the site of a high-profile killing of an American terrorist. Oscar Garza, 26, died of a gunshot wound while fishing on the lake, said Zapata County Sheriff Deputy Raimundo Del Bosque. Javier Gonzalez, 21, jumped into the water to avoid the gunfire and was taken to a hospital and treated for hypothermia. Del Bosque said both men are residents of Starr County. This was probably just a random shooting by these satanic drug-dealing murderers on the other side of the border. And, to think that the people, the citizens that went down there with their own weapons to protect Americans from this kind of violence were labeled as racist is disgusting, and Americans have had enough of it. Okay, build the wall. Sinaloa, Sempofo, patio of horror. Look at this socialist dreamboat. Wouldn't you guys all love to live here? Look, this is the county morgue, okay? The freezer broke, and no one's repaired it. Okay, I wonder what happened to the money. It's probably all gone to hookers and blow and bribes and partying. These corpses are all lying around, rolled up and tied in white plastic, some atop aluminum stretchers, others on the ground below. And it is not the scene of a crime. It is the courtyard of the Forensic Medical Service, where it seems that it has become a common issue for this office, which is responsible for safeguarding victims who, by willful or accidental reasons, lost their lives. Wrapped in tarps, swollen, and smelling of decomposition, lay unidentified bodies, according to visits by El Debate, journalists, and photographic documentation. The bodies, up to 21, lay in this manner for at least 10 days. The refrigerated storage failed over 2 months ago, and no attempts to repair the system have been made. The situation complicated by the number of corpses exceeding the storage capacities. What a dreamboat Mexico is. I wonder why none of the libtards wanted to move there when Trump got elected. Gunfights leave 9 dead in Mazatlan. Hundreds of people lived firsthand through the terror of 4 shootouts yesterday evening, Monday, December 5th, and the night in the port city of Mazatlan. 9 men were left dead. Authorities received the first report at 7 p.m. about gunfire in Colonia Francisco Villa. Ministerial agents were mobilized to the scene and confirmed shortly after the fact that there were 3 men wounded by bullets, and they requested the support of the veteran firemen. Minutes later, the volunteers arrived and reported that the victims were all deceased and requested the presence of the Polo Group. One of the deceased was face up on Lazarco Cardenas Street, while the other 2 were on Tierra Blanca Street near the corner with Larzo Gardinas. So it's just horror every night, man. The poor Mexican people. I mean, the crap that they're put through by their satanic, dark, drug-dealing government is just horrific, you know, and this is what happens when people lose their right to self-defense, when you put your hands completely in the government and trust completely in the government to protect you and to take care of you and to protect your loved ones. Veracruz, weekend of violence greets the new governor. The new governor was sworn in the all but bankrupt state of Veracruz last Thursday, but another initiation followed on the weekend with gun battles that left as many as 28 dead. The violence was unleashed on Saturday in the southern municipality, where early reports by locals and police warned of the presence of the groups of some 30 heavily armed individuals aboard armored vehicles. Oh my gosh. That night, a clash between Army personnel and the yet unidentified group left 2 dead along with 4 injured, all supposedly criminals. The rest of the group fled into the brush. Okay, so the government's pretty notorious for not releasing the numbers on the real numbers. Okay, so a shootout, I mean, maybe, but I mean, you don't even have 1 soldier injured. These must be the worst drug dealing cartel members that have ever existed. The Army reported that it had secured 8 vehicles, one of them armored, and several weapons. Since then, the Army has mounted strict checkpoints all over the road. A second shootout on Sunday, this time involving police officers and close to 20 individuals, left 3 dead and resulted in the seizure of AK-47s and AR-15 rifles. Kate del Castillo denies a run for the governor of Mexico. Look at these disgusting people. Look at Sean Penn. He's got his arm around El Chapo there. I mean, El Chapo. I've been reading this news for years, okay? And the horrendous crimes that he's responsible for committing. are disgusting. And it just shows how disgusting Sean Penn is to be sitting there with a smile on his face.
Hey, El Chapo. You're so great, El Chapo. I like all your money, El Chapo.
I bet you Sean Penn wouldn't even shake the hand of a Christian if he was against gay marriage, but he'll put his hand around a murdering drug dealer. No problem. Mexican actress Kate del Castillo has denied Wednesday that she has an interest in the governorship of Mexico. The denial comes following the presentation of a document, purportedly on behalf of the actress, in which the state requested a change in the rules. "It is false," said the actress, to the question of whether this newspaper is looking to run for the next election. "It was offered to me, but I refused," she added. Mexican press began speculating Wednesday on a possible candidacy of actress when her lawyers reportedly presented an inquiry on her behalf. Yeah, why would anybody want to be the governor of any of this crap? Okay, as soon as you become the governor, you got to be in the bed with the drug cartels. I mean, hell, it looks like she already is. She's hanging out with El Chapo. And if you're not, you're going to get murdered. That's just the way it is. Things will never be the same. The most wanted CJNG sicarios in Baja California. Look at these dirtbags, these satanic murderers, okay? Just doing it for the money. Oh, they're probably like every other criminal out there. I can't survive. I need to start breaking the law. I need to kill people. For 2 years, state authorities have denied the presence of the CJNG in Baja California. Today, 8 of the 10 most wanted hitmen in Tijuana are identified as members. More than 1,900 assassinations have been registered in the last 3 years alone, and 1,300 of those remain unpunished. Few hitmen are being detained. During the last 2 years, state authorities denied the presence of this cartel. And they started with the cartel, in a whole bunch of these little areas. And they just murder and kill and extort. And anybody that gets in their way, if you're not paying them their piso, they're going to kill you. And anybody that's been to Mexico, I've been in Mexico a couple times, this is very real, okay? And it's very scary. They'll murder anybody for anything. So this is the hell that Mexicans have to live through on a daily basis in their crappy socialist state that's been built on the reliance of government. And this is the future that libtards want for the rest of us. They want to disarm the population so the government can become corrupted by criminals and, start killing us and selling their drugs. So anyway, I'm going to come through once a week and read the weekly stories off Borderland Beat. Obviously, check some of these stories out for yourself. You can find all the stories I just talked about at borderlandbeat.com. I'll leave a link to the reference. God bless. I'll talk to you all soon.